Hello, Skin Angels, and welcome to the Skin Angels podcast. I'm Peter Leo, dermatologist, investor, and one of the founders of Skin Angels. Before we begin, a quick disclosure. Many of the companies we discuss are early-stage ventures, and I may serve as an advisor, investor, or collaborator with some of them. From time to time, other members of Skin Angels may also have financial interests in these companies. This podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It reflects our opinions and experiences as clinicians, scientists, and investors who care deeply about innovation in dermatology and skin health. Nothing discussed here should be considered medical advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Our goal is simple: to explore new ideas, highlight promising technologies, and help connect the dermatology community with the people building the future of skincare and skin science. Thanks for being part of Skin Angels. Let's get started. Today, I am so honored to have Dr. Jennifer Soung, founder and chair of LEADderm, director of clinical research, Southern California Dermatology, and clinical faculty, Harbor University of California, Los Angeles. Dr. Soung, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Peter, for having me. I'm always excited to talk about my passion project, beyond clinical research, inflammatory skin diseases. This is my next favorite topic.
Yes. Well, you do a lot. People often talk about burning the candle at both ends. I would say you've essentially lit the candle on fire because you're involved in so many things.
That is so sweet of you. Ditto to you. You do the same thing. You consistently inspire me with all the things that you do that really go beyond the practice of clinical medicine, not only in education, but also exploring other ways to kind of enrich our careers.
Well, thank you for those kind words. And I think this is a really good segue into this key topic that we're going to talk about, the LEADderm conference, because that's what it's all about: enriching careers, enriching people. And I'd love to get the story. How did it start? And what problem were you looking at that you felt like, I can't stop thinking about this. I need to address this problem in dermatology?
Well, I knew right away you were my first faculty advisor because I knew you would be my partner in crime. Because as soon as I started thinking outside the box, I knew Peter Leo thinks outside the box. And so, gosh, the journey of LEADderm really started several years ago. As you know, sometimes when you start thinking about an idea, you're like, wow. And you think, can I do this? Am I going to put this into action? So often it starts many months or maybe years before. And like many entrepreneurial ideas, LEADderm came out of my own journey. Early on in my career, I felt like there was this huge gap in mentorship, community, especially around the parts that go beyond just the practice of clinical medicine. I remember finishing my residency and suddenly stepping into so many different major roles at once. I was director of clinical research at the university. I had a 3-year-old at home and pregnant with number 2. I was trying to navigate academia and leadership all at the same time. And I had all these responsibilities, but no real coach or roadmap for how to do it well. Along the way, I just felt like leadership styles weren't inspiring. I saw environments that were punitive, hierarchical, and sometimes rooted in fear more than growth. And this made me really curious about a better way to lead. One that drives excellence, creates community, collaboration, trust, and really helps people feel empowered instead of diminished. So as my career continued to evolve, I felt like I could not be the only one who feels this way. There had to be other dermatologists trying to figure out leadership, career growth, and motherhood, relationships, purpose, all while practicing medicine. And at the same time, I just couldn't ignore the lack of diversity. I've been in dermatology for over 15 years, and I just see that in many leadership spaces, there's still a lack of diversity in gender as well as racial, ethnic perspectives. So it's all of these experiences that really became the foundation for LEADderm.
That's incredible. And I love the idea that you saw this issue and not only did you feel like you had to do something, you actually did it. Now, when you built this conference, we know there are a lot of different conferences, but LEADderm is very different. And I know some of the things that you're trying to bring to it are quite unique. So how did you go about that building phase, securing the right people, figuring out even sort of the basic mechanics of getting a space and planning for food and all these kinds of things? I'd love to hear the inside baseball.
Great questions. First, I knew that we had many dermatology meetings. And if I was going to add to that, then it had to be something different and unique. And like I said, a big missing piece in our education is really that personal and professional skills are so important in what we do that go beyond the science of medicine. And that was really the missing piece to me. So as soon as I felt like a meeting was the right place to start this conversation and movement, immediately I thought, I need someone else to help me implement this. I cannot do it myself. And leadership is all about delegation. So I am so lucky to have a younger brother who is a semi-retired manager consultant in the tech industry and thought he is best and overqualified for this job. And he was looking for a philanthropy job and said, that is perfect. You can work for your sister. And so that's how it started. And I knew that for meeting planning, I would need a whole team to carry out the logistics. And I really wanted to focus my time on the content. And that's what was really exciting to me. And you, Peter, are so efficient. You really helped me start this movement off to an amazing start with connecting me with so many different people in our dermatology field that really inspire and want to make an impact on our field. So going back to the logistics, it really was as soon as I got a manager, we hired a meeting consulting company as well to help us our first year, kind of develop a framework and strategy, secure location, and then also marketing, getting the word out. That was fun and exciting too. Our first year we had 80 attendees, and then the second year we grew to 140. And you could feel that the energy was different about this meeting. People who come are those who want to reflect, make themselves better, and really make an impact on our field. So that's what's so unique and special about LEADderm. And this year is going to be our third meeting, and it's going to be August 29th to 30th at the Pendry in Newport Beach. So on top of great content, faculty, got to have a great location.
I like that a lot. Now, you are an expert in many things, so you have a knack for making things look easy, but I know it hasn't been easy. Were there some hard lessons or some difficult situations you faced while putting the conference together, or maybe even are still facing? What are the challenges you feel?
Absolutely. I think one of the trickiest is getting people to register. If you have any advice out there, is getting people to register early. So we look at our trends year after year. So we're about 4 months out from the meeting, and we have about 15 people registered. So I tell my friends, they tell me, I'm coming, Jen. I'm going to be there. I say, great. Will you register now, not later, just to help me save a little stress? So that can be nerve-wracking, but also exciting at the same time when at around 8 to 10 weeks, people start registering. And every week we kind of do a countdown and we see how many people register. So that is tricky. And also getting sponsorship is tricky too. The meeting content is non-traditional. So we're not covering typical topics in the body of the meeting, which is atopic dermatitis or psoriasis or the latest cosmetic procedures. So a lot of companies feel like, oh, we're not sure how we fit in. And getting sponsors to start thinking about supporting doctors in a different way has been a little more challenging than I had thought. Traditionally, pharma companies like to have a direct commercial message to doctors, right? I want you to, or I'm trying to sell you something. And I look at it a different way. I look at when we start thinking outside the box, how can you be helpful or support doctors? Because if we're not supporting our doctors, then it's hard for doctors to help patients well. And that's what I learned over time is that all of these other skills are so important in being a whole physician to be able to deliver effective care.
I really like that. Even if you have the latest and greatest medications and the best algorithms for treating somebody and knowledge about the pharmacology, that doesn't help if you are not put together enough to bring it there. And I love this idea that you're addressing these other aspects that are honestly just as important and maybe even more important in this day and age. Do you feel like, was there a turning point when you felt like things started to fall into place? Maybe with that first conference, the first year when there were so many questions, did you feel that there was a moment where you said, okay, we got this. This is actually going to be amazing? Or was it really at the moment when it launched? Because I remember being there and the energy was palpable. It was so exciting and there were so many people and so much excitement. So by then I knew it was a hit. I said, this is real. This has happened. But was there a moment before?
There definitely was. And it was people like you saying, you know what, I love this idea. Let's do it together. And to me, that was already a success. All the people we had met along the way, our first faculty who said, yes, these topics are so important and I want to be there, is that I wasn't going to measure success based on how many attendees there were. Perhaps that's success for maybe pharma companies or sponsors. And I understand that's one component. However, success for me personally was, you know what? I did something new and I tried it. And I felt so strongly that this was so important that if we want leadership to look different in the future, we need a place to have these conversations and we need to develop those skills. My favorite analogy is if I'm learning a new skill, whether it's an instrument or a sport, would I ever think of doing it by myself? You would hire a teacher or a coach. And why wouldn't we do that in leadership when the stakes are even higher?
I really like that. Now, if you could go back to day one, knowing what you know now, what is one piece of practical advice you might give yourself or your team initially?
I would probably say, and actually, this is a very timely question because I decided to start working with a leadership coach so I can really develop and grow into this leadership position. And one of the first things is not aiming for perfection. Many people who have worked with me know that I have high expectations. And in my mind, I'm always thinking about driving for excellence. However, for those who are working with me or around me might see that as perfection. And so I think the first step is just being happy with, wow, we did it. We put the meeting together and we got ourselves on the map for the first year. And every year we can improve. However, not giving so much pressure around that it has to be perfect. And so that's something I'm working on. And I see that that's what leadership is all about. We're not going to be perfect in every area. And as long as we're evolving.
It's kind of neat. That's sort of a meta message because I know that will come through in the conference as well. This concept of it's more important to ship and get something out there than it is to be perfect, because I find that many of us are prone to that. We can sit there and keep perseverating on it and reiterating, and we don't feel like it's ready for the world. But it's so important to launch things because that's the only way the message gets out. And that really is the difference. It's bringing something from nothing to something takes a lot of energy, a lot of passion, and it takes persistence. And you've really shown that.
And it's so amazing that how much we can do collectively. So if I didn't tell you before, Peter, thank you so much for being my partner that first year. You really helped me launch the concept and movement of LEADderm.
Well, it's a pleasure. And I'm so excited to have been a part of it and continue to be a part of it. And that's really why I wanted to have you here, because spreading the word is so critical for a lot of our listeners. The people who are listening in are those who are focused on the frontiers of dermatology and skin science, right? They're thinking about the future. They're thinking about startup companies and ideas and products. But this is also really important because not only is the conference itself unique and a fascinating product, if you will, but also what's behind it and what I think we can get out of it is really important. So I can't wait to go again this year and be part of it and learn and grow and connect with all those great people. And I guess I wanted to ask you kind of my final question to wrap up, which is you've now climbed a mountain and you're up on top. You can see farther than many people because you've done so many things. From where you're standing now, what challenges or opportunities in dermatology or skin health, or maybe even in this conference arena, leadership, wherever your interests are, but what are some of the things you're paying attention to or you think are worth looking into as the next step or the future?
Wow. I have to bring it back to LEADderm. And one thing I kind of want to reframe our thinking is a lot of people think of leadership as administration or being the president of a society, or this isn't for me. And I want to reframe that where we think about it as personal and professional development. as physicians or healthcare providers, we're already in a leadership role, whether we're leading our teams in our office spaces, or we are working with our patients, or symbolically in our communities. And so, what our meeting focuses on, because people are like, well, then what do you talk about at your meeting? Are topics like artificial intelligence. What does professionalism and etiquette look like in social media? Or how do you build a meaningful career beyond clinical medicine? There's so many things that we can explore beyond clinical medicine, which is the foundation of our expertise. However, there's so much education that can be done to our patients, our communities, and our peers. Our colleagues do so many exciting things, and I can't wait to see what you guys are doing at Skin Angels this year. And then ultimately, there is so much. I don't like to use the word burnout, but oftentimes it kind of summarizes that feeling of like being disconnected because medicine is being corporatized, or the value of human connection with our patients is being diminished, and we're required to see more patients. So I think that we often have to kind of reconnect with our core and our purpose so that it can help us be more intentional about where we spend our time and where we help patients as well.
Amazing. I know that Dr. Steve Dave Louie is going to be there this year. Can you tell us a little bit about him and maybe some of the other things we might be looking forward to at the conference?
Yes. So Steve is my faculty advisor for this year. I love his enthusiasm for so many different areas of dermatology, not only in medical dermatology, but also in education. And he also has a presence on social media. So really does a great job of educating our public with kind of challenging skin conditions. And on top of that, he even does laughter yoga, which I just recently learned about. And so he is definitely an individual who believes in one kind of the whole physician and using multiple kind of approaches to treat many of our patients who have autoimmune diseases as a whole. So beyond that, he's been great energy. He will be in charge of the social media section of the conference this year. And also, we have some sessions focused specifically on residents. Residents have asked us that they really want to learn more about the art of negotiation. So beyond just contract or your employment, your first employment contract, but we negotiate throughout our day, whether it's with our staff or our patients. So those are some of the highlights this year. We also have this year's theme, which is called Strong Ground. So what I alluded to before is understanding your core values and purpose is so important in this kind of ever-changing healthcare environment and kind of unstable world we're kind of living in right now. And so reflecting and understanding your core values and purpose can really give you more direction, and understanding that strong internal foundation is that message of strong ground this year.
Amazing. Well, I cannot wait to see you at the conference. And where can our listeners learn more about the conference and you?
So the website is easy to remember. It's leadderm.org. So LEADderm.org. Sign up before June 1st. It's 50% off. It's at the beautiful Pendry Hotel. It's in an awesome location, Newport Beach, California, and easy to fly into is the John Wayne Airport. I'd love to see you all there, and send me a message if you have any questions.
Thank you again so much for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks so much, Peter.
And to our listeners, take care, and we'll see you at the next one.